The Vanishing Path. The legends of the Vanishing Path were whispered in the village for centuries. It was said that deep within the dense forest outside town, there existed a path that appeared only under specific conditions, when the moon was full and the fog thick enough to blur the line between what was real and what was imagined. Few claimed to have seen it, and those who did never returned to tell their tale. Most believed it was nothing more than a ghost story, a tale spun to keep children from wandering into the woods alone. But Sophia was never one to believe in legends. The night she first saw the path, she hadn't meant to go that far into the forest. It was only supposed to be a short walk to clear her head. The world had been heavy lately, with too many responsibilities and too little time. She needed to breathe. But as she ventured deeper into the woods, the fog rolled in, creeping along the ground like a living thing. It wasn't long before she felt disoriented. And then she saw it. A narrow dirt path illuminated faintly by the light of the full moon. Curiosity tugged at her. The path looked ancient, overgrown with twisted vines and lined with trees that seemed to bow under the weight of something unseen. She hadn't heard about the legend since childhood, but the words echoed in her mind. The vanishing path only reveals itself to those who seek something they have lost. Sophia hesitated for only a moment before stepping onto the path. The world around her shifted almost immediately. The sounds of the forest, chirping crickets, rustling leaves, faded into silence. The air grew colder, and a strange pressure settled over her, as though the very atmosphere was watching her. Still, she walked forward, her footsteps soft against the dirt. As she moved deeper into the path, the trees seemed to shift. Their trunks bent and twisted, warping into shapes that reminded her of things she'd long forgotten. Her mother's face, the house she grew up in, the echoes of a song from her childhood. It was unsettling, but Sophia couldn't turn back. Something deep inside her kept urging her forward. Minutes felt like hours, and the path seemed endless, winding through the forest in a way that made no sense. Just when she considered turning back, she came upon a clearing. In the center stood an ancient stone archway, covered in moss and vines, leading to nothing. The path disappeared beyond it, swallowed by a dense, impenetrable fog. Sophia stepped closer, drawn to the arch despite the knot of fear tightening in her chest. As she did, she saw something or someone moving within the fog. A figure just beyond the arch, standing still. "Hello," she called, her voice trembling. The figure did not respond. It stood motionless, its form blurry and indistinct but familiar. Her breath caught in her throat. It couldn't be. The figure looked just like Daniel, she whispered, her brother's name slipping from her lips without thinking. Daniel had disappeared years ago. One evening he'd gone into the woods just like she had, and he'd never come back. Search parties had found nothing, and over time people had moved on, assuming the worst. But Sophia had never stopped wondering what happened to him. And now, here he was, standing just beyond the arch, waiting. Without thinking, she moved toward the archway, desperate to reach him. But as her foot crossed the threshold, the world shifted again. The ground seemed to disappear beneath her feet, and she stumbled forward, falling into the fog. When she regained her balance, the clearing was gone. The forest was gone. She was standing in a place that defied reason. A vast, endless landscape of mist, with shadows flickering at the edges of her vision. Daniel was nowhere to be seen. Panic surged through her, but before she could move, a voice echoed from the mist. A voice that sounded like Daniel's, but distorted, distant. "Sophia, why did you come?" She turned, searching the fog for any sign of him. "Daniel, where are you?" she called, her voice shaking. "I came to find you. I thought you were—" "I'm not what you think," the voice interrupted, growing colder. "None of this is what you think." Sophia's heart raced as the fog began to close in, the shadows within it shifting into strange, unnatural shapes. She took a step back, her mind racing. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But the path had been real. The archway had been real. And now she was trapped in a place that defied all logic, searching for someone who might not even be her brother. The shadows drew closer, and Sophia's instinct screamed at her to run. But the path, as the legend said, vanished behind her. There was no way out. She took a deep breath, her mind racing as she tried to remember everything she could about the legend. The vanishing path only reveals itself to those who seek something they have lost. But what had she really lost? Daniel's voice echoed again, closer this time. You shouldn't have come, Sophia. Suddenly, she understood. It wasn't Daniel she had lost, it was herself. In the years since his disappearance, she had lost her way, consumed by grief and the need for answers. The path had appeared not to reunite her with her brother, but to show her the truth, that some things were meant to stay lost, and that some mysteries were never meant to be solved. As the fog closed in around her, Sophia closed her eyes. She had found what she was looking for, and now she had to let go. In the village, the people spoke of the vanishing path for years to come. Some claimed to have seen it in the fog, just beyond the tree line, but no one who followed it ever returned. And the legend lived on, waiting for the next lost soul to find it.